The massive alien ship appeared above Earth like a dark cloud blocking the sun. Admiral Karath stood on the bridge of the Imperial warship, his 4 purple arms crossed behind his back. He had done this 300 times before on 300 different worlds. The pattern never changed. First, the aliens would panic. They would send desperate messages begging for mercy. Then their primitive military would attack with whatever crude weapons they possessed. After a brief battle, Karath would accept their surrender and add another planet to the Galactic Empire. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet below," his communications officer announced. Karath nodded. Here it comes, he thought. The usual terrified pleas for their lives. But the voice that filled the bridge was calm and professional. "Good morning. This is James Mitchell from Harrison and Associates. We would like to invite your delegation to our offices for a business meeting." Karath blinked his 6 yellow eyes. Business meeting? Where were the frantic military commanders? Where were the desperate world leaders? "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "our scanners show no military buildup on the surface. No weapons being aimed at us. They appear to be waiting." This was unusual. Most worlds immediately began firing everything they had at the Imperial fleet. But Earth seemed completely peaceful. Karath studied the blue and green planets spinning slowly below his ship. "Perhaps they are too primitive to understand the danger," suggested his second-in-command. "Maybe they think we are traitors." Karath decided to investigate. He selected his best warriors and prepared to beam down to the planet's surface. They would meet with these humans, accept their surrender, and be back in time for the evening meal. The Imperial shuttle landed outside a tall glass building in a place the humans called New York City. Karath stepped out wearing his finest battle armor, polished to shine like silver. His honor guard followed, their weapons ready. They expected to meet cowering primitives. Instead, 3 humans walked calmly toward them. All 3 wore identical dark suits, white shirts, and narrow ties. They looked more like they were going to a funeral than meeting alien conquerors. The lead human was middle-aged with gray hair and carried nothing but a small leather briefcase. "Welcome to Earth," the man said with a smile that seemed friendly but somehow cold. "I am James Mitchell. These are my colleagues, Margaret Thompson and David Roberts. Thank you for coming." Karath towered over the small humans. His battle armor gleamed with medals from countless victories. His plasma rifle could destroy a building. Yet these 3 humans showed no fear at all. They acted like this was just another day at work. "I am Admiral Karath of the Galactic Empire," he announced in his most intimidating voice. "I have come to accept your planet's surrender." "Of course," Mitchell replied pleasantly. "Shall we discuss the details inside? We have coffee and pastries prepared." This was not going according to plan. Karath had conquered warrior races, hive minds, and energy beings. But he had never been invited for coffee by his enemies. The humans led them into the glass building and up to a room on the 52nd floor. The room had a long polished table surrounded by comfortable chairs. Through the windows, Karath could see the human city spreading out below. Millions of these strange creatures going about their daily business as if a massive alien fleet was not hanging in their sky. "Please have a seat," Margaret Thompson said, gesturing to the chairs. She was a stern-looking woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes behind glasses. "Before we begin, you will need to sign some standard paperwork." She placed a thick stack of documents in front of each alien. Karath barely glanced at the papers before making his mark. What did human paperwork matter when he controlled the most powerful fleet in the galaxy? David Roberts, the youngest of the 3 humans, opened a laptop computer. "We have taken the liberty of reviewing your fleet's documentation with the Galactic Commerce Commission," he said in the same calm voice. "There seem to be some problems." "Problems?" Karatha's translator struggled with the word. Margaret pulled out her own computer and began typing. "Your fuel purchase agreements appear to violate Section 47B of the Interstellar Trade Code. The penalty is immediate seizure of assets. Your weapons systems," David continued, "are not properly licensed for this sector of space. That is another violation. And your crew," James added, consulting his briefcase, "has not paid the required taxes on their wages for the past 6 months. Karath felt confused. These humans were talking about laws and taxes and paperwork. Where was the fear? Where were the desperate attempts to negotiate for their lives? "This is ridiculous," Karath said, his voice rising. "We are conquerors. We have taken 300 worlds. Your petty rules mean nothing to us." James Mitchell looked up from his paperwork with that same cold smile. "Actually, Admiral, as of 17 minutes ago, your fleet has been legally seized to cover outstanding debts and violations. Margaret has the documentation." The woman slid another set of papers across the table. Karath stared at them in disbelief. According to these documents, his mighty warships were now the property of something called Terra Industries. Your fuel supplies have been frozen pending investigation, David reported. Your weapons are being held as evidence. And your crew's bank accounts have been suspended for tax evasion. Karath tried to contact his ship, but found that his communications had been cut off. His fleet, the pride of the Galactic Empire, had been defeated not by weapons or warfare, but by humans with briefcases and laptop computers. He looked at the three humans in their dark suits and finally understood. These were not frightened primitives. These were Earth's warriors. And their weapons were far more dangerous than any plasma rifle. Admiral Karath sat in the human conference room feeling more confused than he had ever been in his long military career. His mighty fleet hung helpless in Earth's orbit, legally frozen by something called regulatory compliance issues. The three humans across from him continued working on their computers as if conquering a galactic empire was just another day at the office. James Mitchell looked up from his laptop screen. Admiral, we have some good news and some bad news. Which would you prefer first? Karath's translator made strange sounds trying to process this human concept. What is good news when you have stolen my fleet? Margaret Thompson adjusted her glasses. The good news is that your ships are perfectly safe. We have excellent security measures in place. The bad news is that your empire owes approximately 47 billion credits in unpaid fees, taxes and penalties. 47 billion? Karath's voice cracked. That is impossible. The Empire Treasury has never. David Roberts turned his computer screen toward the alien admiral. Actually, it is quite possible. You see, when your empire began expanding 300 years ago, you agreed to follow all Galactic Commerce Commission regulations. But you never actually read those regulations. The screen showed page after page of legal documents. Karath's head began to spin as David scrolled through them. For example, David continued, every time you conquered a planet, you were required to file a territorial acquisition form within 30 days. You filed exactly 0 of these forms over 3 centuries. Margaret pulled up another document. Each unfiled form carries a penalty of 50,000 credits, plus interest compounded daily. That alone brings your debt to several billion credits. But we are conquerors. Karath protested. We do not file paperwork. James smiled that cold smile again. That is precisely the problem, Admiral. You have been operating as an illegal business entity for 300 years. Every ship in your fleet, every weapon you carry, every planet you occupy, all of it is technically stolen property under galactic law. Karath felt his 4 stomachs churning. This cannot be legal. You are making up these rules. David spun his laptop around again. I'm afraid not. The Galactic Commerce Commission was established 400 years ago by the Treaty of Andromeda. Every spacefaring civilization signed it, including the early Carathian Republic, your ancestors. On the screen was an ancient document bearing the seal of Karath's own homeworld. His great-great-grandfather's signature was clearly visible at the bottom. Your ancestors agreed to follow these rules, Margaret explained. When your people formed the Galactic Empire, you inherited all previous treaty obligations. Unfortunately, you also inherited all the penalties for breaking those treaties. Karath stared at the signature of his ancestor. The old fool had doomed the entire empire with the stroke of a pen. What do you want from us? Karath asked quietly. James closed his laptop. What? Admiral, I think you misunderstand the situation. We do not want anything from you. We already own everything you have. Margaret pulled out a thick folder. Your ships are now property of Terra Enterprises. Your weapons belong to Harrison Defense Industries. Your planets have been transferred to Mitchell Colonial Holdings. Your crew members, David added, are now employees of Terra Galactic Corporation. We offer excellent benefits, full medical coverage, retirement plans, and 3 weeks of paid vacation per year. Karath's head was spinning. You have turned my warriors into employees? Former warriors, James corrected. They are now security personnel, maintenance technicians and customer service representatives. Much more stable career paths. Through the conference room windows, Karath could see small human shuttles flying up to his ships. Each shuttle was filled not with soldiers, but with people carrying clipboards and briefcases. What are they doing to my fleet? He demanded. Margaret looked out the window. Standard corporate integration procedures. Inventory assessment, equipment evaluation, personnel interviews. By tomorrow morning, your former fleet will be fully operational under Terra management. This is madness, Karath whispered. You cannot simply buy an entire empire. David shrugged. Actually, we can. We just did. The beauty of the galactic legal system is that everything has a price. Your empire simply could not afford to pay its debts. James stood up and walked to the window. Admiral, your people spent 3 centuries thinking that power came from bigger guns and stronger ships. But real power comes from understanding the rules that everyone else has to follow. You used force to take planets, Margaret added. But we used contracts, regulations, and legal procedures. Our way is much more efficient. Karath looked at these 3 humans in their identical dark suits. They had destroyed his empire without firing a single shot. They had turned his mighty fleet into a corporate division. They had made his warriors into office workers. What happens to me? Karath asked. James returned to his seat. You have 2 choices, Admiral. You can fight these legal proceedings in galactic court for the next 50 years, during which time you will accumulate even more debt and penalties. Or you can accept our offer of employment. Employment? Margaret slid a contract across the table. Senior Operations Manager for the former Imperial Fleet Division. Very competitive salary, full benefits, and you get to keep your old uniform for ceremonial occasions. Karath stared at the contract. His entire life had been dedicated to military conquest and imperial glory. Now these humans were offering him a desk job managing the very ships he had once commanded in battle. If I refuse, he asked. David consulted his computer. Then you will be personally liable for the Empire's debts. 47 billion credits, plus legal fees, plus interest. We estimate it would take you approximately 4,000 years to pay off. Karath picked up the pen. As he signed his name to the human contract, he realized that Earth's warriors had taught him the most important lesson of his life. The deadliest weapon in the galaxy was not a plasma cannon or a fusion bomb. It was a good lawyer with a calculator. Admiral Vorthak received the emergency transmission while eating his morning meal aboard the Imperial flagship Dominator. The message from Admiral Karath made no sense at all. The humans have taken my fleet, Karatha's voice crackled through the speakers. They use paperwork. Send help immediately. Vorthak nearly choked on his food. Paperwork? The first Imperial fleet was the most powerful force in the galaxy. How could primitives with paperwork defeat starships that could destroy planets? Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving similar messages from 12 other sectors. All Imperial fleets are reporting legal difficulties. Vorthak slammed his fist on the table. Legal difficulties? We are the Galactic Empire. We make the laws. But as more reports came in, a disturbing pattern emerged. Across the galaxy, Imperial fleets were being grounded by something called regulatory violations. Their weapons were being confiscated for safety inspections. Their crews were being reassigned to new employers. Prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate departure, Vorthak ordered. We will show these humans what real military power looks like. The 7th Fleet was Vorthak's pride and joy. 100 massive warships carrying enough firepower to crack a moon in half. If the humans wanted a fight, he would give them one they would never forget. But as the fleet approached Earth, warning lights began flashing on every bridge. A human face appeared on all communication screens simultaneously. The woman had blonde hair pulled back severely and wore the same dark suit that seemed to be Earth's military uniform. Admiral Vorthak, the woman said in a calm, professional voice, I am Elizabeth Clark, Senior Legal Counsel for Terra Galactic Enterprises. Your fleet is in violation of multiple cease and desist orders filed with the Galactic Maritime Court. Vorthak laughed. You dare threaten the Imperial Navy with legal papers? Threaten? Elizabeth tilted her head slightly. Admiral, I think you misunderstand. We are not threatening you. We already own you. She held up a tablet computer. Hostile takeover, completed this morning at 0847 Standard Galactic Time. Your entire fleet now belongs to Terra Industries Incorporated. You and your crews are technically our employees. Impossible. Vorthak roared. You cannot buy a military fleet. Elizabeth's smile was polite but cold. Actually, Admiral, we can. Your fleet was purchased at auction to cover the Galactic Empire's outstanding debts. The sale was completely legal under Imperial Commercial Code Section 15J. While Vorthak sputtered in disbelief, small human shuttles began approaching his ships. But these were not attack craft filled with Marines. They were civilian transports carrying people with briefcases and clipboards. What are those shuttles doing? Vorthak demanded. Standard corporate integration procedures, Elizabeth replied. Our human resources team needs to process your crew members as new employees. Please instruct your people to cooperate fully. The lead shuttle docked with Vorthack's flagship. Through the airlock came a cheerful human man wearing a bright smile and a name tag that read, "Hello, my name is Peter Williams, HR Director." "Good morning, Admiral," Peter said brightly. "Welcome to the Galactic family. We are so excited to have you on our team." Vorthack stared at the small human. You are not afraid of me?" "Afraid? Oh heavens no. We have excellent workplace safety policies. Now let me explain your new benefits package. We offer full medical and dental coverage, a generous retirement plan, and 4 weeks of paid vacation per year." Behind Peter came a stream of humans carrying boxes of paperwork. They moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, setting up folding tables and portable computers in the corridors. "What are they doing?" Vorthack asked. "Employee orientation," Peter explained. "Every crew member needs to fill out tax forms, emergency contact information, and dietary preference cards for the new cafeteria menu. We are thinking of adding pizza Fridays." Within an hour, Vorthack's mighty warship had been transformed into something that looked more like an office building than a military vessel. His bridge crew sat at folding tables filling out forms while humans in suits explained company policies. "This is madness," Vorthack whispered. "Actually, it is just good business," said a new voice. A human man in an expensive suit had appeared beside Peter. His name tag read, Michael Thompson, Fleet Integration Specialist. "Admiral Vorthack," Michael continued, "your ships are impressive, but they have been running very inefficiently. Our analysis shows we can reduce operating costs by 30% while improving performance across all metrics." "I do not care about costs," Vorthack shouted. "These are warships." "We're warships," Michael corrected. "Now they are corporate security vessels. Much better for insurance purposes. Lower premiums." Peter pulled out a thick employee handbook. "Now, Admiral, let me go over the dress code. Uniforms are optional, but we do require business casual attire for all management positions. Would you prefer khakis or dress slacks?" Vorthack looked around his bridge. His weapons officers were learning about workplace harassment policies. His tactical crew was signing up for the company health plan. His communications team was being trained on customer service procedures. "What have you done to my warriors?" he asked quietly. "Improved their career prospects," Michael replied. "Most of them had no retirement planning at all. Very short-sighted. Our financial advisors are helping them set up investment portfolios." Through the bridge windows, Vorthack could see the same scene playing out on every ship in his fleet. Humans in dark suits moved efficiently from vessel to vessel, transforming military crews into corporate employees with nothing but paperwork and pleasant conversation. Elizabeth Clark appeared on the communication screen again. "Admiral, we need to discuss your new position in the company. Based on your leadership experience, we are prepared to offer you the role of Regional Fleet Manager, Grade 7 with full benefits and stock options." Vorthack sat down heavily in his command chair, which now had a small placard reading, "Management Workstation, please keep clean." He finally understood what had happened to Admiral Karath. The humans had not conquered them through superior firepower. They had simply made warfare obsolete by turning it into a business transaction. And the most terrifying part was how efficiently they made it all seem perfectly normal. Emperor Malthrax sat on his golden throne reading reports that made less sense with each passing hour. His mighty empire was crumbling, but not from war or rebellion. It was being destroyed by something far worse: paperwork. "Your Imperial Majesty," his chief advisor trembled as he approached the throne, "we have received another message from the humans. They wish to discuss what they call a business proposal." Malthrax crushed the data pad in his massive clawed hand. For 600 years, his family had ruled the greatest empire in galactic history. They had conquered thousands of worlds, commanded millions of ships, and made entire star systems tremble at their name. Now some upstart species from a backwater planet was sending him business proposals. "How many fleets have we lost now?" Malthrax asked. 47, Your Majesty. All legally seized for various violations. The humans claim our military operations violate something called the Galactic Fair Business Practices Act. Malthrax laughed bitterly. "Fair business practices? We are an empire, not a trading company." "That appears to be the problem, sire. According to the humans, any organization that operates across multiple star systems automatically qualifies as a business entity under galactic law. Since we never registered as a proper corporation, everything we do is technically illegal." The massive doors to the throne room opened with a deep rumble. 3 humans walked in wearing the same dark suits that had become a symbol of terror across the galaxy. They moved with quiet confidence, showing no fear of the towering alien emperor or his armed guards. The lead human was an older man with gray hair and intelligent eyes. He carried the standard human briefcase that had proven more dangerous than any weapon ever created. The woman beside him had dark hair and wore glasses that seemed to see right through the Empire's financial records. The third human was younger but walked with the same purposeful stride. "Your Imperial Majesty," the older man said with a polite bow, "I am Robert Harrison, Chief Executive Officer of Terra Galactic Consortium. These are my colleagues Susan Baker and Michael Clark. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Malthrax studied the 3 small beings standing before his throne. Each one was less than half his size, carried no visible weapons, and looked like they belonged in an office building rather than an imperial palace. Yet these creatures had brought his empire to its knees without firing a single shot. "What do you want from me?" Malthrax growled. Robert smiled pleasantly. "Actually, Your Majesty, we want to help you. Our financial analysis shows that your empire is facing some serious challenges. Cash flow problems, regulatory compliance issues, massive debt accumulation. We have a solution." Susan opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick binder. "We are prepared to offer a comprehensive bailout package for your empire's current fiscal difficulties." Bailout. Malthrax had never heard this human word before. Michael stepped forward. "Think of it as a rescue operation, Your Majesty. Terra Galactic Consortium would assume all debts and operational costs of the Galactic Empire in exchange for a controlling interest in your organization." Malthrax felt his blood pressure rising. "You want to buy my empire?" "Not buy," Robert corrected smoothly. "We prefer to think of it as a strategic merger. You would retain your position as ceremonial head of the Imperial Division, reporting to our board of directors on Earth." Susan placed the massive contract on a small table beside the throne. "It is really quite generous, Your Majesty. We are offering full debt forgiveness, operational restructuring, and guaranteed employment for all current Imperial personnel." Malthrax leaned forward on his throne. "And if I refuse?" Michael consulted his tablet computer. "Then your empire will be forced into bankruptcy within 67 days. All assets would be liquidated to pay creditors. Your people would be unemployed, your worlds would be auctioned off to the highest bidders, and you personally would face criminal charges for operating an illegal business entity." "Criminal charges?" Malthrax roared. "I am the Emperor. I am the law." Robert shook his head sadly. "I am afraid not, Your Majesty. Under the Galactic Commerce Code, no individual can claim sovereign immunity while operating a multi-system business without proper registration. You have been running an unlicensed corporation for 6 centuries." Susan flipped through several pages of the contract. "However, if you accept our merger proposal, all criminal liability would transfer to Terra Galactic. We have excellent lawyers who specialize in regulatory compliance." Malthrax stared at the contract. Hundreds of pages of dense legal text that somehow had the power to end his empire more thoroughly than any army ever could. These humans had done something impossible. They had made conquest obsolete by turning it into a business transaction. "What would happen to my people?" he asked quietly. Michael brightened. "Excellent question, Your Majesty. All Imperial personnel would become Terra Galactic employees with competitive salaries and full benefits. We are planning a complete restructuring that should improve efficiency by 40%. Your military forces would become our security division," Susan added. "Your administrators would join our management team. Even your royal guard would have positions in our executive protection department." Robert leaned forward slightly. "Your Majesty, we are not here to destroy your empire. We are here to save it. The galaxy is changing. The age of conquest is over. The age of commerce has begun." Malthrax looked around his throne room. Golden walls covered with portraits of his ancestors. Weapons from 1,000 conquered worlds. Banners representing millions of subjects across the galaxy. All of it meaningless in the face of human paperwork. "If I sign this," Malthrax said slowly, "what happens to the Imperial throne?" Susan smiled. "It becomes your office, Your Majesty. Very impressive executive suite. We might need to add a desk and some filing cabinets, but the basic structure would remain the same." Malthrax picked up the human pen. As he signed his name to the contract, 600 years of Imperial history came to an end. But somehow, looking at these calm, efficient humans in their dark suits, he suspected that the galaxy might actually be better off. At least the new management seemed to know what they were doing. 6 months after the merger, The former Imperial Palace on Zephyria looked like a completely different place. The Golden Throne Room had been converted into a modern office space with ergonomic chairs, computer workstations, and a coffee machine that never seemed to stop brewing. Motivational posters hung between ancient battle banners, displaying cheerful messages like, "Teamwork makes the dream work," and "Excellence is everyone's responsibility." Former Emperor Malthrax, now Regional Director Malthrax, sat behind his new desk reviewing quarterly performance reports. His massive golden throne had been replaced with a comfortable office chair that was much better for his back. The crown that had once symbolized absolute power now served as a paperweight for important documents. A gentle knock on his door interrupted his work. "Come in," he called, no longer bothering with the booming imperial voice that had once struck fear into millions of hearts. Admiral Karath entered wearing a crisp navy blue business suit instead of his ceremonial battle armor. His new title, Senior Fleet Operations Manager, was embroidered in gold thread on his jacket pocket. He carried a tablet computer and looked surprisingly comfortable in his civilian clothes. "Good morning, sir," Karath said with a professional smile. "I have the monthly performance metrics from the Andromeda sector." Malthrax accepted the tablet and scrolled through the data. Production was up 18%. Customer satisfaction ratings had improved across all systems. Employee turnover was at an all-time low. The numbers were honestly quite impressive. "Excellent work, Karath," Malthrax said. "What about the Vega system? Last month they were having some difficulties." "All resolved, sir. The humans sent a team of efficiency experts to help streamline their operations. They installed new computer systems and trained the local staff on proper procedures. Very helpful people, these humans." Through his office window, Malthrax watched human consultants in their dark suits moving through the hallways with quiet purpose. They carried laptops and briefcases instead of weapons, but they commanded more respect than his old Imperial guards ever had. Every alien who worked for the company seemed eager to please these soft-spoken humans who had somehow conquered the galaxy with nothing but spreadsheets and contracts. "Any word from Earth?" Malthrax asked. Karath nodded. "Mr. Harrison sends his congratulations on our third-quarter performance. The board of directors is very pleased with our division's contribution to overall profits. There is even talk of expansion bonuses for the management team." Malthrax almost smiled at that. Expansion bonuses. A year ago, expansion had meant sending fleets to conquer new worlds through violence and destruction. Now it meant opening new offices and hiring more employees. The humans had managed to make imperialism profitable and peaceful at the same time. "Oh, and sir," Karath continued, "we received a request from the former Regelian Republic. They want to voluntarily join Terra Galactic as a subsidiary company. Apparently, they heard about our excellent benefits package." This was happening more and more often. Independent worlds and smaller empires were actually asking to become part of the human-run organization. The humans offered things that military conquest never could: job security, healthcare, retirement planning, and paid vacation time. It turned out that most beings in the galaxy preferred steady employment to constant warfare. "What did you tell them?" Malthrax asked. "I scheduled a meeting with the merger and acquisition team for next week. Standard procedure now." Malthrax nodded approvingly. The humans had taught them that everything should follow proper procedures. No more sudden military campaigns or spur-of-the-moment conquests. Every expansion was carefully planned, legally documented, and financially sound. A soft chime from his computer indicated an incoming message. The screen displayed a familiar face, Robert Harrison, the human who had negotiated the original merger. He was calling from Earth, sitting in what appeared to be a normal office that somehow served as the command center for the largest empire in galactic history. "Good afternoon, Director Malthrax," Harrison said with his usual pleasant smile. "I hope you are having a productive day." "Very productive, Mr. Harrison. Karath was just updating me on our quarterly numbers. They look excellent." "I am pleased to hear that. The reason I am calling is to inform you about our next board meeting. We are considering a major expansion into the Outer Rim territories. Your input would be valuable." Malthrax felt a familiar thrill at the mention of expansion, but it was different now. Instead of planning military campaigns and calculating casualties, he would be analyzing market opportunities and assessing profit potential. It was conquest, but civilized conquest. "I will prepare a comprehensive report," Malthrax promised. "Excellent. Oh, and Director?" Harrison paused. "The board wanted me to express their appreciation for your leadership during this transition period. Your division has exceeded all performance expectations." After the call ended, Malthrax leaned back in his comfortable chair and looked around his office. Ancient weapons from conquered worlds now served as decorative art pieces. His collection of royal crowns had been repurposed as unique desk accessories. The war banners of defeated enemies hung beside company mission statements and organizational charts. Karath was still standing patiently by the desk. "Sir, is there anything else you need today?" Malthrax considered the question. A year ago, he had commanded through fear and demanded absolute obedience. Now he managed through cooperation and earned respect through results. His former subjects were happier, more productive, and better cared for than they had ever been under Imperial rule. "Actually, Karath, I think we are doing just fine," Malthrax said. "Schedule a meeting with the department heads for tomorrow morning. I want to discuss ideas for improving employee satisfaction in the outer systems." As Karath left to arrange the meeting, Malthrax returned to his quarterly reports. The numbers told a story that would have been impossible to imagine a year ago, a galactic empire that actually worked for everyone involved. The humans had taught him the most important lesson of his long life. True power did not come from inspiring fear or commanding armies. True power came from creating systems that made everyone want to succeed. And the most impressive part was how normal it all seemed now, as if the galaxy had always been run by humans in business suits who understood that the best way to rule the universe was to make it profitable for everyone.